Welcome to Zest Knowledge Base or Frequently Asked Questions video. This is going to be a great video. I just had a moment there where I felt like we were SNL with the sweaty balls. Have you ever seen that? Hello? Hello.
I did.
And it's the two women.
Yes.
Not that we're women, but I guess it's fine. We could be. No? Yeah, Chad did not like that. I'm okay going where Chad, no.
I'm already lost. I mean, I'm familiar. I just.
Yeah. Anyways, I had the moment there that, so we're going to do this. Zest customers we know are very intelligent people, and those who wish to be intelligent people or Zest customers, you'll be able to find us on YouTube, on our website, and these are things to help you navigate using Zest, which ultimately gives you more time with your customers and all that kind of stuff. So it makes your customers happy, all that, right?
Yeah. And we wanted to do this kind of format because Zest is a purpose-built product.
Yeah.
And the more customers we get, the more demos we do, the more just out there in the industry we get with this product. We really find lots of different questions, and sometimes those questions, they don't really align. The question being asked doesn't necessarily align with the result people are trying to get. They say, can Zest do X? And we say, no. Why do you want it to do X?
Yeah, why do you want it to do that?
Well, because I want to make sure that I never have a customer be upset because a ticket got lost. And we say, let's explain to you how Zest keeps your customers happy and keeps a ticket from being lost in the cracks. Has nothing to do with the question you asked us originally, which is some kind of Band-Aid feature that somebody came up with a decade ago, and now the industry thinks that's how you do it, but we have some cool stuff. Yeah,
so this will be questions. I think later we'll go into actual how do you create tickets and stuff like that. Even though it's all intuitive and very easy, we'll do that down the road. But it is a purpose-driven product. We were told not to create a PSA, right? Mm-hmm. And we did. And we were told you cannot have purpose-driven.
Yes.
And we did it anyways because we don't care. We are the Lainey Wilson of PSAs. Right? Yeah.
Yep. I knew you were waiting for it.
Listen, I watched her kind of documentary thing the other day, and it's just she stuck to being country and being her, and it finally came around. But she wasn't going to change. She wasn't going to commercialize. She was not going to commercialize. So she wasn't going to be a Kaseya or a ConnectWise or any of that garbage. Does Zest have overlapping time? Chad?
Out of the box, Zest does not allow overlapping time, but we do have it as an option. You can enable the ability to overlap your time entries. And if you do that, you'll just lose access to some of the built-in, ready-to-go reports Zest has that require non-overlapping time entries.
Excellent. So absolutely you can do overlapping time. And again, just like other systems, some of the reporting you'll have to do through your own efforts.
Yeah, and the reporting that gets disabled really is mostly applicable if you do no billable time in your org outside of projects.
Yeah.
So there's MSPs that still have a lot of break-fix work. That work might end up having some overlapping time from the way you do your business. If that's the case, you can allow overlapping time in Zest. But we recommend that if you don't have that need, that you leave it disabled. That way Zest will be able to give you really great out-of-the-box reports for your profitability and which customers are generating the most work for you.
Excellent. Let's talk about the reports.
Yeah.
There is customer performance. So if you go to on the left side where the legend's at and you click reports, and the first one is customer performance. And within there you have tickets per managed user per endpoint is one of the reports. Mm-hmm. And everything in there as you fill out the information gives you your data. The one thing, the things that you can set up in there are what though, Chad? What's the things you can set up?
This report, customer performance, it seems simple. It actually is really hard. I'm glad you brought this report up because it comes from accurate timekeeping. These metrics are the most useful metrics any MSP can have. Many MSP business coaches will talk about it. It's very simple. How many hours per managed user or endpoint do you have for each customer in a given month, and how do your customers compare to each other, and how do your hours per endpoint compare to kind of industry targets or the targets you should have to be profitable. If you spend 3 hours a month per managed device, you will not be profitable as an MSP. You're probably going to be in the chaos spiral of doom at that point, right? So you have to know. So the report's really simple, but to make the report work, number one, you need to accurately track your time, which is where the accurate time tracking comes in. And then number two, Zest has built into it the ability to track per customer whether you bill them per managed user, managed employee, or managed endpoint. Now, we recommend going with managed user whenever you can.
Yeah, and that would be the hours per managed user per endpoint.
It would, yeah. The reason the report says tickets per managed endpoint / user / endpoint.
Yep.
So you pick one item for each of your customers. You do that on the customer page, and you pick whether for that customer you want to track their managed users or you want to track their managed devices, endpoints, for the purposes of this report. So you have customer A, they have 10 employees, and you charge them however much, your all-in seat price times 10. You would pick users for that customer. But then you have customer B, they're a different industry. They have 100 computers you manage, but they have 500 employees, and not all of them have emails, and it doesn't make sense to charge per employee.
Yeah.
You pick endpoint, and with our RMM synchronization, the number of endpoints you manage is pulled into Zest, and it keeps track of that number for you. So to get this report to work, you just need to track your time, number one, and when you set up your customers in Zest, pick, should you track the managed users or you should track the managed endpoints for this report, and then use Zest for a couple of months, come look at this report, and you are going to instantly see if you have any customers who are really overutilizing the service versus their size.
Yep. Yeah, these reports are right out of the box once you start using Zest. Service queue reporting, service queue performance.
Yep.
It's just one page. Again, left-hand side in the legend, reports, and then service queue performance. And this is a single pane of glass kind of thing where you can see all of your different metrics, SLAs, stuff like that. This is a amazing report. With our MSP, we could come in on a Monday, pull this up, and very quickly see how we're doing, and then where to go for the week, and what to fix, what need to be shored up, what was going great, what to congratulate, all that stuff. This is all we needed to do to be very successful. And again, just by using Zest, this was done. We didn't have to spend months and months building it. We didn't have to spend hours and hours maintaining it. It just comes right out of the box.
Yeah, so we have an important concept tied to this report in Zest, and this is the information you need for the service queue performance report to work well for you. You should know that Zest comes pre-configured with 12 work queues. These have our recommended work queue names for categorizing your work and first response and resolution SLA targets for each work queue uniquely. You can modify these work queues to fit your own business goals and your deliverables by going to configurations and queues. There you can enable or disable the default queues, you can rename them, and you can modify the SLAs in those queues. So when it comes to the queues in Zest, the questions we really get are, there's typically two different things that are happening. One is, a lot of MSPs don't have different service queues. All of their tickets go to the same bucket, and that is a terrible idea because what you're not able to do is properly prioritize your tickets and keep track of what needs done when. Now, other PSAs have other ways you can maybe change the SLA applied to each ticket. We tried to make it really simple out of the box in Zest. It's really, really clear. When tickets come in, they start in the Breakfix queue. That is the highest performance queue. It has the lowest resolution targets to try to get those things that are broken fixed quickly. But then you look at that ticket and you say, well, they're asking for a new computer. That's going to take me a week or two. Got to order it. Got to
Yep.
set it up. Got to deliver it.
Yep.
So you move it into the procurement queue. Totally different SLAs that
Yep.
align
There
with
you
keeping
go.
your customer happy. So it's as simple as that. 12 queues
Yep.
out of the box, ready to go. And you go to service queue performance to see how did we do? How many tickets came in? How many did we close in the time period? And what was our first response and resolution SLA?
One you said before that too was queues, right?
Queues.
How many queues does Zest come with?
It comes with 12.
12. Yep.
12 queues. And you can disable them. We do definitely see some customers disable, maybe go down to 6 or something.
Right.
We really have never run into a case where people need more than 12. 12 seems to be a pretty nice solid number.
Yep.
But it's important. Occasionally we've had customers with some issues, and we look and see how they're set up, and they turned off all their queues except Breakfix.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, this doesn't work the way I thought it would. And it's like, well, yeah, you need to categorize your work.
Yeah. And can you change the names of the queues?
You can rename the queues.
Okay.
You can set specific email addresses to get tickets to come directly into those queues.
Yes.
So for example, there's a default queue called monitoring alerts. That's where we'd expect you to point your RMM alerts if you're not using our integration, or if you are using an integration we have for RMM, it will point to that queue automatically. There's another queue for security. You might use that for security alerts coming from a SOC vendor or an antivirus product. So you can utilize these queues to organize your work, and it all feeds back to the design of Zest. Everybody just works off their Workfeed. It tells them what to do and when to do it.
Yep. And so, as you already mentioned, status, right? Or statuses.
Yeah, I thought of that because it's another common question. Another common question is, can I pause the resolution SLA timer in a ticket in Zest?
And the answer is no.
The answer is no.
That's a very important part of this product is no, because what's the one thing that doesn't pause? What's the one thing that doesn't pause when you're an MSP or an IT service? Your customer's internal timer that they have in their heart and soul and mind. It does not pause. It doesn't stop.
Nope.
It keeps on ticking. You have to match that.
You can set your customers' expectations, but once they're set, you can't pause them. You can't say, well, we've been waiting on a vendor for 2 months.
That's right.
That's why your stuff isn't done yet. That's not an acceptable answer. So
nope.
Zest is built around that. That's why the queues, out of the box, the resolution targets for tickets, they can be up to a month.
Yeah.
Right? If it's in a
Yes.
queue that could take a long time, low priority, up to a month.
That's why it works.
There you go.
Because you can change that.
But at the end of the month, we've never had a situation where a customer opens a ticket and 40 days later is still chill, calm about that. No, they're like, what is going on?
No. In fact, one of the ways we were able to, as we navigated and attracted so many customers, was one of the things we heard all the time was the black hole of tickets. Like tickets go into a black hole, and customers they quit submitting them, and they just give up all hope. And that always amazed me. I always thought, that is just crazy that the way that you get service, the most efficient and best way for you to get service is a ticket. In the accounting and financial world, I used to think, wow, that would have been amazing if we had a ticketing system for all the things we had to do and all that. But, ticketing is a blessing. It's great. It's wonderful to have that. And I thought, wow, that somebody could have that perspective. We did not want that. We did, we saw things. We also saw things too that, a ticket that was 6 months old. Like, how on earth is that even possible?
No,
but yet we saw it all the time, and it's
PSAs that shall remain nameless. We paused we put it in a pause resolution state.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to fail.
Yeah.
Your SLA, you're not going to get that alert telling you failed SLA. It's in a black hole.
Yes. Pausing is a killer. It's a killer. And, the other thing to think about too is when you put things in pause, like I would often go to a tech or engineer and say, wow, that looks like it's been about 3 weeks. I'm sure the customer at this point is not happy at all. What's going on? Well, they haven't gotten back to me. And I'd say, oh, well, when did you reach out to them? Well, 3 weeks ago when the ticket first opened, and I just haven't heard anything.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call them? No, I never called them. Did you send them more emails? No, just the one email. I mean, it was blatant, like not even a reach out. And this customer's probably got very busy and forgot. And then every time they have the one issue, it irritates them or whatever. It's all these things. But the point is, I would look at that and say, wow, that's just totally unacceptable.
Yep.
That something can go 3 weeks or longer without it really being on a radar or a problem or anything. Right? Why? Because you can pause. You can pause. The whole world is wonderful because you can pause. But it's not wonderful for your client. It's not wonderful for them.
So in Zest, the only time your SLA timer, resolution SLA timer is not running is when you're not during business hours.
Yeah, non-business hours. That's legit. That's okay.
Yep. And then when you are, if you're waiting on customer, waiting on vendor, waiting on part statuses, that lets you know that, you're waiting for something. But in Zest, when you put a ticket into a waiting status, you always have to schedule your next attempt to move that ticket forward.
This is a great point. So, well, why if I'm waiting on a vendor, why can't I pause? Well, because again, is that vendor your client? No. Is that vendor paying your invoice? Is that no? So, but the client, they're still involved in this whole thing, and they want a resolution. So, again, I would go to a tech and engineer. So, it looks like we're waiting on vendor. Have you called the vendor? Nope. Well, what have you done with that? Well, when the ticket first opened, I sent them an email. It's been 3 weeks. I haven't heard anything. I haven't and oftentimes I would have a relationship with that vendor and with the owner, so that I could call and say, hey, we can't use you as a vendor if this is gonna. And right away things would get resolved immediately or ASAP. But again, you didn't know it was an issue because it was lurking in the shadows.
That's right.
Lurking in the shadows as paused, waiting on vendor. I used to hate those categories.
When your technicians know they have to get this ticket done in the approved time frame, they have to push it further.
Yes.
Maybe they're going to call the customer and say, hey, the laptop you wanted? I can't get that. I can't get that in the time frame that we normally get you stuff.
Yep.
You want to look at different models.
Yep.
Or if you can pause it, pause.
Yeah.
Why'd this ticket take 2 months? Well, that's how long it took.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you got to keep track of it.
Yep. And we have tasks in Zest for that reason, to be able to do different things if you need to outside of a ticket, that when appropriate, all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, there are places for everything that you need to do in Zest. This is another question we get.
Yep.
What if I need to do something a year from now? What if I need to put a ticket in so in a year I renew something? Well, you don't need to put a ticket in. You don't need to screw up your ticket feed, your count. You make a task.
You make a task
in Zest. You schedule it. In a task, you can do all the normal things. You can communicate with the customer. You can track your time. But it doesn't have an SLA associated with it. It's meant for those small, looser things.
Yes.
And so there's always a place to live in Zest.
But it will still let you know. Zest will still let you know if you didn't get a task done.
That's right.
It will let you know.
If you schedule it for January.
Yep.
And January comes and you haven't done it.
Yep.
Not only will you see it on your work feed, everybody in the org will see it at the top of the dash bar.
But that is a question we get. Renewing a license a year from now, where do I put that? Well, you create a task and you'll be able to do it, and it'll let you know if you don't do it, and it'll show up in your work feed once you schedule it, all that kind of stuff. Another question we get is integrations. And we cover integrations in our demo video.
Yes, we do.
But just to say it here again, the integrations we have is with QuickBooks Online, Xero, Level, that's an RMM, Ninja One, RMM, Microsoft Outlook, Google Calendar, and those are our integrations right now.
Yep, and a general question we get, just kind of to address it in general, do you integrate with X, and when will you integrate with X?
Yeah.
And the answer is We are working on open APIs to let people integrate with whatever they want.
Yeah.
But Zest is not a product that is meant to be beholden to 30 other products for you to be able to use Zest.
Yeah.
It is a product that lets you run an MSP in it using a successful business model, a very well proven business model. And that business model does not require a lot of integrations into your PSA.
Right.
And when we speak with so many organizations who are a little integration crazy,
Yeah.
what we find is a lot of the integrations people use, the reason that we didn't think to put them into Zest in the first place are these were things that did not help customer satisfaction. And Zest is built around customer satisfaction. So a great example is one integration we're working on, we're excited to do in the future is with Pax8.
Pax8,
the ability to automatically update your quantity counts for invoicing your customers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very useful feature.
It is.
But you know what doesn't make your customers happy? When you overcharge them.
Right.
And in our past life with a different PSA that we had used, that's exactly what happened. We plugged them all in, everything looked good, we started moving forward, and then all of a sudden we get a bunch of customer complaints.
It was a nightmare.
You overcharged me, and then we find, actually we undercharged some people.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got to go back, or we got to eat a loss.
Yep.
So it's important that integrations all contribute to customer happiness. We would much rather have really a small number of really good integrations that empower customer happiness and success. Mm-hmm. And so we're adding integrations as we can polish them them so well that they're really useful.
Another question we have is based around the Workfeed and how the Workfeed flows or works into Zest. And we're always saying follow the Workfeed. But maybe if we could just go over the Workfeed real quick, Chad.
Yeah, so questions we get around the Workfeed. In the Workfeed automatically brings up to the top what you should work on next. And so a very core concept in Zest is that everything should be worked in the order your customers want you to work it. What that means is every ticket in Zest has a urgency, and it will show up on your Workfeed with the highest urgency ticket at the top. So some of the things that will happen when people use Zest and they come back and they say, I'm not able to keep the dash bar green. And we help them, we look into how their team is using Zest. What we find is technicians ignoring their Workfeed and simply looking at the list of tickets and cherry picking and doing what they want. And then you look at the Workfeed and you find, this technician has had this ticket. It's probably been at the top of their Workfeed for 2 days, and they have not touched it. That's why your customer is now unhappy. So when it comes to training people about the Workfeed, it is important. The entire system has been built around using the Workfeed to do your work. It sounds simple. It sounds like a silly thing. But we live in an age where 20 years, maybe 30, people who work for MSPs and IT companies, they're used to walls of tickets. They're used to lists. They're used to cherry picking.
50 tabs, all that kind of stuff.
They know better than the system.
But
the system simply represents which items your customers are probably the least patient on.
Absolutely. Right? If people will just follow and use the Workfeed, it's like just use the force. It's the same. Just the Workfeed will absolutely always keep you on track.
And when we see that when companies do get all of their employees using the Workfeed, there's a direct result. So you can see after just a week or two, your ticket backlog goes way down.
I have some general questions. What currencies does Zest have?
We have the US dollar for regional support. We support the UK, Australia, EU for formatting. But all of that will feed in to your accounting system, and Zest takes a agnostic approach. So while you will see depending on your region, dollar signs,
Yep.
or other currency symbols, those values just get fed to your accounting system.
Yep.
And your accounting system takes it from there.
That's right.
And this also goes for taxes.
Yep.
So Zest does not try to figure out your taxes.
Right.
We are a global product.
Yep.
So we hand off the currency numbers you put in. Your accounting system takes it from there. Your QuickBooks or your Xero, it will be responsible for anything currency related and anything tax related.
Yeah. Another question. This is a question of somebody coming from another PSA. Does all the information in the PSA they're coming from, is there a way to get all that information directly into Zest?
Oh, that's a great question. So if you are coming from another PSA, you will be able to typically export from that PSA your list of customers and all of your contacts for those customers. And then you'll be able to import your customers and your contacts into Zest. We do support importing from CSV. So as long as you can get your information out from the other system in the form of a CSV, any other system, you can bring it right into Zest. We do not support importing tickets and importing time entries. And it is interesting how frequently we get asked that question.
Yes.
But that is not something that PSAs typically support.
No.
Because every PSA has completely different data fields for tickets and for time entries.
Yes.
Not something that you can do.
Yeah.
Typically, we will let our customers know if you want to keep your old ticket history and your time history, your PSA that you're moving from probably supports exporting that, but we wouldn't be able to import it. It's going to be completely different data.
And on that note, whenever we switched, because before we created Zest, we tried about everything out there. We never had any use or need to go back in the past. We never did.
No,
we never needed to go back, and we just never did. And so, you lose some of that information. But what's more important is that your accounting and financial information is vital. So you're always going to have that, no matter what where you move from or what you do. And there's other information you're always going to have. I don't see certainly ticket history in the past and that kind of stuff being that vital. You can definitely take snapshots and take some percentages and whatever and take a whole numbers, and then you have them and move them on and look at them, that kind of stuff. But I've never seen it as a big deal. Yeah, and
another just genuine reality when you get data from other PSAs is, unfortunately, a lot of times that data is just not useful.
Yeah.
One of the questions we get sometimes during onboarding is, well, I don't want to lose, my time, all my time, and it's just a sad reality that your time is probably worthless. If you're using another PSA, you're not tracking 100% of your time, and it's decimal and it can be overlapped, and very rare that we see that information being useful. There's a notion that you're going to be able to import it into Zest and somehow have those stats, but the information is actually not usable. But the good news is, using Zest, after just a few months, you are going to have an actionable snapshot of data. You're really actually going to finally see what's going on with your customers, because Zest only works that way. It only allows you to fully track what you're doing for your customers, the work you're doing, and the time you're spending.
Some more general questions. Does Zest do contracts?
Zest does do contracts. So in Zest, you are able to set up one or more contracts for each of your clients. And these contracts allow you to invoice your clients for your monthly services, for licenses you resell, any additional products that you might sell them, add-on products. And these contracts can be set to expire or not expire, and they can be set to bill your customers monthly, quarterly, or annually. So you can definitely put all of your agreements into Zest, and you can also, in your contracts, define what types of time entries are billable.
Yeah.
So the time you spend doing project work, or maybe other things that your customers have been agreed to be billed on, you'll be able to generate invoicing for those time entries.
Yeah, so let's talk about, mentioned overlapping time, but let's talk about break-fix time or per hour time. Does Zest do per hour time if I have customers that I bill each month hourly for work I do?
So the answer is yes, Zest does do that, but it is not a good fit if you are an hourly IT company.
Yeah.
It is not a good value if you are a break-fix shop, and we are very open and upfront with that. There are other products on the market if you want to be break-fix IT that will probably align better.
Yeah.
But of course, there's always a mix. Sometimes people do have some, and Zest absolutely will allow you to bill for all the time you spend on your customers. And we also have a block hour tracker.
Mm-hmm.
It is very simple. It's very rudimentary. And again, not a key feature of Zest, only there for the MSPs who are trying to get their customers off of those block hour agreements. But Zest will let you know. You can define the block of hours the customer has optionally when they expire.
Yeah.
And Zest will warn you when your customer is getting low on their hours or they're expired.
Yeah. Can you do project invoices in Zest? Can you do a project and bill your customer for the hours you did for the project?
You definitely can do projects in Zest. Zest has a project module. Projects are a collection of project tasks. So you can work with them like you can work with other tasks in Zest, but a project ticket collects all of that together into a cohesive plan. So with a project, you can set your start and end date for the project, estimate your hours. You can pick the type of billing you're going to do for your project. So you can do a flat fee, you can do a not to exceed, or you can do an hourly rate. You can define all the steps of your project and map that out in phases and in tasks. And you can also handle, just like with tickets in Zest, you can handle product procurement directly from the project. So you can add hardware items, software items directly to the project and invoice for those things out of the project.
This question is for customers wondering about where Zest is hosted. Where is it at? What all that kind of information.
Zest is hosted in Amazon Web Services. It's hosted in the US, and we are preparing to also spin up an EU region hosting.
Yeah.
So that does come up with some customers about where that data is hosted. Mm-hmm. And currently it is all hosted in the US on AWS, but we will very soon be hosting any EU or UK tenants in an EU location.
Excellent. What languages is Zest in?
Zest is supported in English only. It does regionalize for the UK. It regionalizes for Australia and Canada. But right now, Zest is only in the English language.
Does Zest have a customer portal, and what can our customer do with that portal?
Zest has two portals. One is called the Ticket Submission Portal. This is a general portal that you give to all of your customers. You can map it to your own custom URL like help.joesit.com. Your customers can go there and submit a ticket simply by putting in their email address and the title of their issue. They can optionally pick a priority, put more details, and add file attachments. That is the universal way that everybody can submit tickets into Zest, and you can prevent people from submitting tickets into that portal unless they are a customer. So it will check their email and make sure that they are authorized to submit tickets. So that's a ticket submission portal.
Okay.
But you can also enable the customer ticket portal. This allows customers that you grant access the ability to log in and see either just their own tickets or all of their company tickets. And they can see the status of them for the open tickets and the closed tickets.
Can they, do they have management in that space? Can they submit tickets through that dashboard? Can they respond, do any communication, that kind of thing?
Right now, our customer ticket portal does not support communication directly from the portal. You can see the communication that's happened, but you can't directly change the ticket, close the ticket, or put notes in the ticket. All of those are features we plan on adding.
Excellent. So right now, they're able to get a view.
They're able
They
to
can go in
see
there, see all the tickets.
what's open.
Yeah.
It's typically used mostly by customers who want to see what are all the tickets open for my company, and they want to keep tabs and see if they can do anything about other people's open tickets.
So how much does Zest cost?
So for Zest, you pay $79 per month per Zest user, and Zest does not have any contract or onboarding fee. So with Zest, you can get a free trial to try the product. If it works, you can put your payment information in, use it as long as you like it, and at any time you can increase or decrease the user count or cancel if you're not using the product. And we never want to charge for onboarding. It's one of the things we hated about other PSAs, which is why we built Zest to be easy to use and quick to onboard. We do provide onboarding assistance, but typically after watching our onboarding video, most MSPs are able to onboard themselves in a single day.
And that leads to another question. You said a single day. So onboarding is generally about a day. Does a new customer or MSP, do they have full support and help with that onboarding?
They do. All we ask is that as a new MSP using Zest, you watch our onboarding video. It will walk through all the core things that need to be configured. But if you reach the end of that and you still have questions and you're not finding what you need in this knowledge base, then you can absolutely get direct support to make sure it's working the way you need it to.
Excellent. Yeah, and I would say you've heard about Zest somehow, some way. What are the next steps? Well, definitely go to the site, www.zestmsp.com, and click Request Access. From there, you'll get a demo video, which is only about 8 minutes long, and it will give you a great overview. If you're still interested after that, then you will get a link to a free trial for 14 days, and you'll also get a link to the onboarding video.
Yep.
And with those two things and testing that out, should give you a good idea for you to know whether you want to use Zest or not. And then you, after the 14 days, put your credit card in and you're rolling. The great thing too with it is Zest is a product you're going to be able to use 100% of.
That's right.
The dash bar's clickable. I mean, just look at that dash bar, make sure it's all green. Everything will be great. All that kind of stuff. It's a product they're going to use 100% of.
Right.
And you're going to find that techs and engineers and other people like to use it. And in that way, it's going to be very useful. So versus all the different PSAs we used out there, I don't know, use very little of it, then you duct tape the rest of it together, and you just hope and pray, What about automation with Zest? I would say automate what you hate, but if you hate customer service, do not be an MSP. Don't do it. Don't be an IT service provider, any of that. Just stay out because it's all customer service. But, of course, automation in its right place is good. So, Chad, what about automation in Zest?
Yeah, so automation in Zest is built in for the most critical, repeatable things that you do in a PSA. But it is so built in that sometimes people think we have none. So we do have a notifications area under configurations, notifications. You can customize some email alerts about when tickets are created or responded to, things like that. But the bulk of the automation in Zest is inherent to the product. So when a ticket comes in, the one item that people say, well, can I automatically, dispatch that ticket? And the answer is when a ticket comes in, your customer does get an email letting them know the ticket was received. But we have purposefully not added any other automation to allow you to automate your first response.
Right. Very important.
Very important. In Zest, the first response is when an actual person looks at the ticket, makes a decision about how that ticket needs to be handled, and replies to the customer letting them know that they have assigned this ticket and they set an expectation.
Yeah.
This is very important, and it's one of the primary things we see MSPs try to automate
Yes.
because, whoa, you want me to reply to my customers 50, 100
Right.
times a day? Well,
Right.
who wants to do that? Well,
Right.
your customers want you to do it. And,
Yeah.
might be a good point to interject slightly that we say Zest is a purpose-built product, and we say it's built around your customer being happy.
Yeah.
But just to step back a little, the reason we did that is that when we started our MSP, after working in the industry 15 years,
Yep.
and we started with one customer,
Yep.
and 5 years later, we look up, we look around, and really, while our competitors were busy automating what they
Yeah.
hate,
Yeah.
and they hated customer service,
Yeah.
and plugging in 20 different things, and
Yeah.
doing everything they could to avoid responding to their customer,
Yeah.
we took the exact opposite approach,
Yeah.
and we had phenomenal success. So
Yeah.
that's why it's built into
And we took
Zest.
their customers.
And we took their customers.
While they were busy automating,
automating what they hate.
we were busy onboarding.
That's exactly right.
You can be either busy automating or busy onboarding.
And when you have, let's just say that you're a growing MSP and you get 100 tickets in a week. Well, if you've automated the dispatching of those 100 tickets,
Yep.
then you've ignored your customers 100 times.
Yeah,
That's really how they feel.
Yes. It's a customer touch point.
Yes.
And there are plenty of examples out there in the non-IT world and in the IT world of using those customer touch points and the reward it will give you as a company. And so you want to use those customer touch points. You don't want to do anything but use them and make sure there's a connection there. So yeah, that's why we did that.
Yep. And then the other big group of automations we're asked about fall into two groups. One of those groups is completely covered by Zest. People want automations because they've had to do that in other PSAs to avoid tickets falling through the cracks, failing
Yep.
SLA, getting lost. And all of that's built into Zest between the Workfeed and the dash bar
Yes.
that are going to be green when everything is good, yellow when something is going off the rails, and red when you failed a business process. So
Yeah.
that automation is inherent.
Yeah.
The other group of automations that come up when we find potential customers are asking about them, we find they may not be a good fit for Zest. It's automations around avoiding using their PSA.
Right.
So we've had people say, well, can't you just have this automatically do something and close the ticket? Can we put an automation in where I get a summary of all the tickets that are open so I don't have to open the PSA? These are habits people have for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if your MSP is not at a point where you have at least one employee who can man the ship and look at the PSA you're using,
Yeah.
then Zest is probably not a good fit for your organization at that point.
Yeah.
So in large part, there's a lot of automation questions around, hey, can I do some automation so I don't have to look at Zest at all during the day? And it's just not designed to work that way. You can't scale an MSP without manning the ship.
It's silly to think that your main tool you don't want to have to look at. It's just silly. So
we get requests about, can you send me emails about this, that, and the other?
Yeah.
Well, we built Zest so you don't work out of your email. So
Right.
you can look at your Workfeed and work out of there.
Yeah. So one question is, does Zest do alerts or alerting? The answer we would say first is use your Workfeed and the dash bar. If you use the dash bar and the Workfeed, you do not need any alerts. You just don't. Now, we do understand that there are some alerts that may make sense and that people may use. And so do you want to talk about those, Chad?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we do have some notifications that you can configure in Zest to send an email. These are genuinely meant to support startup or really small MSPs who want to be using Zest, want to grow into being able to have somebody manning the ship all day, but they still need a little bit of a backstop. So we do have the ability that when a ticket's created in Zest, you can have some email go out to notify somebody else. So we do have some limited alerting in there. But again, Zest is specifically built around the notion the people will look at their work feed, not 8 hours a day, but at least 4 or 5 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
They're going to bring up
Yeah.
their work feed, what needs done, they're going to work through it. But importantly, one thing we didn't cover that helps with that is mobile support.
Yes, that was going to be my next question is,
Yeah.
does Zest have a mobile app?
So we get asked if Zest has a mobile app, and when we say no, people go, oh, and we say, but
Yeah.
we support mobile, and they say, well, that's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
You have to have an app.
Right.
But the actual answer is Zest was built from the ground up on a modern web UI framework
Yep.
called React.
Yep.
It was built with mobile use in mind, like
Yep.
so many modern apps. And
Yes.
we do not have the tarnish of 20 years,
Right.
a 20-year framework other PSAs have, where they
Yes.
can't work on mobile.
Some of the apps we've used are horrendous.
Horrible.
But the app
On
that I
Zest.
put on my, I made my own app.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you mapped it as an app.
I
Yeah,
mapped it as an app
you can
on
do
my
that,
phone. Actually, Andrea did that.
of course.
Andrea is one of the founders of Zest. She mapped
And
it.
she's the reason it works so well on mobile.
Yes.
Because she is our UI UX designer.
That's right. And so she mapped it. I have it on here. There is zero difference for me between that.
Full
and any other.
functionality on mobile,
Yep.
phone, tablet.
Yep.
Doesn't matter your screen size.
Nope.
The UI of Zest automatically adapts.
Yep.
And so even if you are small and you think, I can't look at Zest all day, well, guess what? You pick up your phone,
Yep.
look at your work feed right from your phone, add a ticket, put your time in.
Yep.
So, the answer is in Zest, you don't need a lot of automations
Yep.
because you just look at the product and it's all built in.
Yep. There you go.